Great job. You're beyond door number one and door number two, the door of focus, the door of identity. Now we're stepping into door number three of thresholds. Most people say they want to do something bigger with their life, but they don't actually take the actions on that leads to that. Some people want to accomplish dreams and goals, and man, if we don't have those dreams and those goals, we're going to be perishing according to what the Bible says. So if you're here right now, it's because you have that clearly for yourself. And it may not be 100%, but at least you know that you are made for something much more than what you're currently experiencing. That doesn't mean that what you have today is bad or wrong. It just means that you know that God made you to excel. He made you to grow. He made you to transform. We're here to allow the Spirit to lead us into a new level of leadership that allows for a level of transformation. And from there, we're able to literally bring heaven down to earth. We do so by accomplishing our goals and our dreams. We do so by doing it from a place of rest and peace. And we do so by sharing the fruits with the people around us in the process and on the journey. So door number one, we spoke about focusing, the idea that we get to choose what we focus on, and the focus that we put our consistent attention to is going to give us the emotions that we feel, which eventually create the personality, which is made up by the actions, behaviors, and ways of thinking. This is what makes up you. So it's really key to keep this level of focus at a really clear perspective. It's like I have these little stimulus that just remind me of things. One of them being every time I walk through a door, quite literally like a door frame, I am always asking myself, okay, God, how are you moving in this room right now? So come up with your own. My ring also has its own meaning to it. For this idea of focus, think of something for yourself. What is something that happens consistently? We're creatures of habit. So if we're creatures of habit, those repeated actions time and time again are going to support us or impede us, hold us back. This is where this idea of focus puts us in a place of responsibility and ownership that really comes from the one Almighty, because He gave us as humans the ability to choose. Birds and animals and every single creature out there doesn't. They respond based on instinct. We as humans, we can choose. And that is not something to take lightly. And I believe that if we start to really embody the choosing consistently, we're going to start to experience a level of transformations in our life. Especially as you started to recognize that maybe right now, what you do and what you have is not really in line with who you are and who God has called you to be. Maybe right now you're starting to explore, who is that person? What did God call me to do? Why did He create me uniquely? He says that He knew me from way before I was ever born, from the foundations of the earth. He knows how many hairs are on my head. Man, He knows everything about me. I can go to Him to get to know who He made me to be. And this is the true success in life. To stay away from us being the ones that have to decide, have to be really mindful of this. Instead of us putting ourselves above God, thinking that we know best, and instead bringing God above us, bringing under submission, bringing beneath His guidance, His yielding. Again, spirit yielded leaders, because when we are spirit yielded, things becomes much more simple. See, this work is not hard, but it's also not easy. This work is going to be as challenging for you as you allow it to be. And the allowing to be takes a big level of surrender. And in order for us to move through the transformations that we're going to go through, everything that we are trying to create requires a cost. It is not free. So there needs to be an exchange, whether that is monetarily, whether that is through your time, through your patience, through your discipline. There needs to be some sort of exchange. Now, God wants to give us everything. He's a good father above all else. He wants to make sure that we're taken care of. If He takes care of the sparrows and the birds and are consistently taken care of and fed, He tells us to not worry about a thing. He literally says, be anxious for nothing. Now, that we forget when we're being pressed, when we go through the challenges of life, when we experience maybe not the most desired outcome, because we think in our image, and we think that in what we see is what's best. So when we are being pressed, we get upset and we do the only thing that actually holds us back from experiencing the transformation. And this is where we start to explore the third door. The third door is the door of thresholds. Now, a threshold is real simple. A threshold is like a checkpoint. It's like I don't know if you ever played maybe Mario Kart or maybe not Mario Kart, not the best. It is an example because there's thresholds. There are levels in which you need to grow through. Thresholds are the in between. It's like you have a situation right now that you're in, and you know that you're moving into something new, but there's the in between that you need to navigate in. It's in the thresholds where we are being sharpened and our character is being refined. And as our character is being sharpened and refined, we start to get to understand ourselves even more, and we start to see the true power that God has put within us. The thing is, we quit too soon. We stop right before we're at the gold mine. You know, there's this idea. It's a book called, oh my gosh, I think it's 10 Feet from Gold, I think is the actual book name itself. Napoleon Hill talks about the idea that back in mid-50s, 1950s, something like that, 1960s, don't remember the date exactly. There's a story about somebody that is digging for gold. They're digging for gold. They're digging for gold. Unfortunately, they quit. They bring somebody else. They sell the land to somebody else for literally pennies on the dollar. The person is smart enough to bring somebody else that knows more about him than he did, particularly with gold, while he found the vein. And if the other guy, the original person, would have just continued digging for about 10 feet, maybe 5, I don't know specifically how much the distance was, but he was right there. The analogy is we typically stop right as we're about to get to that desired outcome that we've been working towards. And it's because thresholds. So let's take a look at a visual for thresholds, because this really supported me. And it's like this. We want to look at the things of life. When we take life too seriously, and I really learned this a lot specifically in door to door, because I started to see that as I was going through door to door, it was really easy for me to allow the smallest things to really get under my skin. And it was in those moments in time where I started to realize I was making myself way too important. I was taking the doors way too seriously. And in that, I was actually putting my personality to the side. And in the paradox of what that thing does is it actually blocks out the flow. You know, it says that we are to step into the rivers, and in him, there's these rivers of living water. I believe that the rivers of living water are our authentic beings actually showing up in the world. And again, the thresholds are opportunities for us to explore deeper how we can live within these rivers. So let's explore thresholds. And this is simple. You know, this isn't going to be too confusing. This isn't going to really throw you off, because you probably already have this idea. But now I want to show you how life, as we know it, has a lot of ups and a lot of downs. What comes up must come down. Physical law of nature, not philosophical, it's cyclical. Now, this is important to remember in thresholds, because we are not to hang on to any outcome, because everything is ultimately hevel. It is a breath. It is empty and meaningless. At the same time, it is perfect in that. So everything you experience, no matter how high it is, no matter how low it goes, everything is going to come to an end. And what that starts to show us is that when we are experiencing, let's say, a deep valley, it's in those experiences where we can remember, oh, okay, this is right now. Let me just open this up, because yes, this looks much better. It's in those moments in time, as I am growing through the challenges, where I can actually understand that there's going to be something way bigger on the other side. If only I don't quit. It's in the valleys, like we shared before, where our characters are refined and we are sharpened. So, okay, this is the road to life. We are moving through this road of life as we are moving through the blind spots, which we are experiencing through the identity door. Okay, so this is how it connects directly. So we're moving through life. Now, as we go through life, we're gonna come across these walls, or better said, these thresholds. It's in these thresholds where we now have an opportunity to discern. Okay, God, what is happening now? What are you doing now? It's in these moments of time when we may not know exactly what he is doing, where we need to turn away from us having to know the answers and into him having the answers for us. This connects directly with this idea of being, because if you fully embody that you are a son and a daughter of God, it's going to make it much easier for you to actually navigate through these challenges. Why? Because you start to realize you don't have to be the one to come up with all the answers. No, all you got to do is you got to start being in action. You get consistent with what you focus in on, and you continue moving forward. It's the thresholds that have the opportunity to help us or destroy us. Now, as you see, there's a little bit of an indent as to what this is doing. It's going up because life is made to expand. It says the universe is consistently expanding. That's what science tells us. We as humans are also made to expand. We're also made to progress. We're also made to evolve. We're made so that tomorrow we're just a little bit better than we were today. And ideally today, we're just a little bit better than we were yesterday. That's the true nature of us as humans. We need to be in consistent improvement, just 10% better each and every day in every single way. And you'll see your life will slowly start to look like completely new landscape. The thresholds are opportunities for you to do so. So what happens is, you're walking through life and you come across a wall. The wall could look like maybe you don't know the skill set. Maybe you have a really close friend that you maybe lose contact with. Maybe there's a fallout of some sorts. Maybe you're in a committed relationship with a spouse, maybe girlfriend or boyfriend, and you find yourself in a place where you're unable to continue to connect with them. Consider that is what these thresholds are. Now, it's not anything wrong. It's not that these things are in your life to hold you back. No, in fact, it's the thresholds that are going to support you in becoming somebody more, in becoming who God has created you to be, so that eventually this wall, which was once in the way, gets broken through, and then you continue on your way until, another threshold comes around, another area of growth, another opportunity for transformation, and another chance for you to start to explore who has God created me to be and what are the skill sets that I need to develop in this current journey in time. This is really important because the thresholds are really what's going to make you succeed more. It's the failures that actually help you in becoming a transformed human being. So as you continue your walk of life, you continue walking, and it doesn't matter how many doors you are coming across, you know that you are able to handle that. That's one of the things that God is so good at. He's always sharpening us up so that we can handle the challenges that he has for us. The idea of God testing us is, we need to be really mindful of that, because God will only test us in places where he's going to give us the grace to operate in. The story of Job, where he has so much and he gets everything taken away from him. This wasn't God bringing him down and destroying his life because it was what he wanted to do. It was God really helping him see a whole new perspective of who God is. And in that essence, in a new person, in a new way of who he was, being Job. We see it in David. David at 13 years old, he gets anointed as being king of Israel. For 15 years or so, he's still doing the same thing. He doesn't actually become king until years down the road. These are perfect examples. We see Jesus. None other. Like he is the epitome of this. He's missing for 15 years. He comes back at 30, and within 3 years, totally revolutionizes time. Literally transforms time. And in that process, it's the thresholds that he was helping us walk through. It was a threshold that he was helping us to embody. It was the new opportunities for us to grow into somebody that was going to really be able to do the things that he has told us to by he being God, so we could then have everything we want in life. But again, more importantly, the being was what he was really helping us sharpen. And thresholds, these opportunities, these challenges are literally going to transform the way in which you view failures. Why? Because failures are by no means a bad thing. Now, you know what society has done really well? Society is giving us a wrong perspective of failure. You know, they told us that when we in school say the wrong answer, we're not a good student. They've told us that when we don't accomplish a set task, that maybe we should stop and maybe we're not good at that task, or we should move to something else. Failure is a perfect teacher. Failure is actually what brings upon wisdom. You know, you get the stories of people that win the lottery. And typically, those same people that win the lottery, 5 years, 3 years down the road, are depressed, committed suicide, families non-existent. Why? Because there's no wisdom throughout the process. They didn't come across these thresholds that actually sharpened their character, that helped them be better human beings. So failures by no means are a bad thing. Failures are in fact opportunities for us to get feedback. We get feedback, which gives us data, and that data helps us to better align where to go to next. There's a perfect example of Thomas Edison. You know, they say that he failed 10,000 times. He says he found 9,099 ways in which not to do the thing. All he needed was that one way. And now because of that one way, we now have light as we know it. It was through failure of all the different experiments that he did where we now have some of the most amazing technology today. Failure is leverage. Failure is data. Failure is feedback. Failure is also an indicator that you're in action. Look, you want to start getting present to, it's much more important for you to be in action and failing than to be stagnant and dying. What happens to a river when you stop its flow? Eventually, life no longer exists there. We need the flow of life in order for us to experience the fullness of life. And failure is a process. Failure is a part of that. We need to reframe. We need to shift our perspective. We need to shift the way in which we look at things. Because if we don't shift at the way in which we look at things, we're going to continuously see failure as something that holds us back in time. And failure does not do that. Failure only gives us opportunities to evolve. Look at it like this. Failure is almost like the resistance or the wind. Let's go one by one. It's the resistance to a bow and arrow. If you have a bow and arrow and you're trying to go hunting, or maybe just, playing something with targets, let's just pretend that you are out in the woods and you're hunting. Okay. If you don't pull back on the arrow, that arrow will not do a thing. No matter how much you wish for it to, no matter how much you pray for it to, it's not until you pull back and you create the resistance where the arrow actually has now the kinetic energy to be able to propel forward into its target. A plane. The way a plane takes off is once there's enough resistance against the wings, as it creates resistance against the wings, it picks up. So the resistance is actually what makes the plane go high, on top of the speed, of course. Both of those two things. So we need to, again, this is just this is just to show you how any sort of resistance that you're experiencing is good. We're going to get as strong as the opposing forces that we move through in life. This is why there's no fear that you're coming to your space when you're thinking about something brand new and you don't know it. Because when you do so, you're going to start to understand that there's going to be a new level of being that you're going to transform into. This is why it's really important that as you start taking action on that thing, you start to recognize that every single time you're going to take a new intention into something, there's going to be a new disruption towards it. Every single time you want to do something new and you're starting to make progress in it, there's going to be something that comes back against it. Not a bad thing. See, for me, for too long of a time, I thought that every single time I experienced some sort of failure, a little bit of resistance, I was not doing things correctly. I was under this belief, and really a deceptive belief. I was under a lie that told me that the only way to move through life was through the flow of non-resistance, to step into the river of non-resistance. Now, for me, I misunderstood what that teaching was. And maybe, I've listened to it a lot. So it was, I would say it's deceptive because it's all based on feelings. And things like knocking doors, that didn't feel good. Knocking doors on a day-to-day basis was not the most exciting thing to do. It was actually really challenging. But once I understood that, oh, this challenge is actually making me better, it took on a whole new life. As I was having sessions with clients in the marketing space, with the online marketing, the digital marketing firm, I was speaking with doctors and their teams. Here I am, I dropped out of college. I'm 5'5", Colombian immigrant. I'm teaching doctors how to build a business? Once I understood that resistance, it propelled me. But it required for a consistent awareness, a consistent looking at what am I paying attention to? Because if I'm paying attention to things that are only going to bring me down, those things that bring me down are going to put the lenses of failure and have me quit. If I, however, see that the resistance is helping me get stronger, I'm going to look at how I'm going to get better. And eventually, if I continue through time and practice and space, I'm going to be better, which is going to give me the opportunity to actually do the thing better, which will eventually give me the outcome and the result. So my friends, these 3 doors are your opportunities for you to really step into a whole new experience of life. It's these 3 simple teachings that literally through time and time again, we start to explore a new experience of life. Now, here's the thing. Knowing something is not the same thing as doing it. So now you know these 3 doors. And again, this isn't anything that I've created out of my own imagination. God has given me a lot of inspiration in some of this. But what I mean to say is maybe you've heard some of the ideas before. But now that you know them, you're not taking action on them. This is where the blind spot comes into the picture. And this is now where we plug in the identity keys. The identity keys is a curriculum and is a program and is a process in which through action, we discover, we explore, we uncover those blind spots that have been holding you up until now. These 3 doors are going to shift everything for you. Door number 1 itself, that alone, if you really oh my gosh, if you just give yourself a consistent reminder. For me, the first time I started to explore these kinds of understandings, these types of awareness, as these revelations were coming through, I did something very simple, put an alarm on my phone. The alarm on my phone went off about 8 times throughout the day. Kid you not. Lauren used to laugh at it. So same thing with my parents. Because it's so random. And the alarm said, who am I being? Who am I being started to open up a new perspective. And when you look at that consistently 8 hours a day, as I'm knocking doors in the middle of winter, in the dead of summer, and the ding goes off of who am I being? And I then start to question, who am I being? Am I being empowered or am I being disempowered? Am I being a victim or am I being a victor? These things consistently reminded started to shift everything in my life. So I invite you, really step into this with full rigor. Don't just take this as one of those things that you hear and don't take any action on. Really practice it, because you'll start to see that the more you practice it, the more consistent you're going to thrive through it. And look, again, this is just the beginning, because this right now is just information that has the ability to be applied. Now, as you apply it, you're going to see some things for yourself. As you see some things for yourself, you're going to recognize there's some other things that you're going to need support on. There's going to be a level of accountability that it's not just on you. It's based on the people that you surround yourself with, which is why I invite you, be active in the community, connect with other people in the community. We are all here to grow together. This is not about me. This is about us. And as we grow, being led and yielded to the Holy Spirit, there's going to be a new level of leadership that's going to rise up. And as it says, the quote, as the tides rise, so do all the boats. So make sure your boat is in the water, because as people are growing, as people are expanding, as conversation is getting more and more juicy and people start to connect at a deeper level, you are going to also be sharpened and help others in doing the same thing. And that's what we're here to do. The way in which we transform the world is by us creating little pods of transformation, which is what this is. This is a pod of transformation. My invitation is you take this and you create your own. I pass this on to you, because it's not about me. It's not even about you. It's about who you have the ability to impact and who you go touch. So leave you at that. Check out the final video in which we just go over some ideas as to what to do next. But again, take these 3 doors like your life depends on it, because in a very direct way, it does.